everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Roy Kenning.
I'm Mike DeLisio.
Today we're taking a look at a game called Deal with the Devil. A game at, yeah, so there's that. This is a game which came from CGE, and when we first heard about it, it sounded really intriguing. One of my most anticipated games, because in this game, one person's a devil, one person's a cultist, two people are mortals. And you are trying to sell you don't want to sell your soul to the devil.
Sometimes you gotta though, Tom.
But the
Sometimes
devil
you
At least a
gotta.
little piece of it.
You don't have to. Come on.
Anyway, this is a fascinating theme, actually, and one that's not been done in a game before as far as I know. Let's take a look briefly at how it plays, and we'll be right back. I'm not going to go over every rule in this game because there's a lot going on in it. I just want to give you some of the ideas here. First of all, you need 4 players exactly. You have to have 4 players, and you have to use this app, which is free. When you use this app, it's going to start, and you're going to set up 4 chests in this game, denoting the 4 roles of players. There are 2 mortals, one with the black praying hands, and there is also one with white praying hands. Each of them has 3 soul pieces that they're going to have. There's also a cultist who will have 2 soul pieces, but on one side it shows that they're tainted. And then there is a devil who just starts with a lot of resources. At the beginning of the game, you're going to use the app, and I want to give a lot of props to the app here because the app works really well. And you're going to just shuffle these chests, and then you'll hold the chest above the app, and it tells you who to give that chest to. And then you'll hold the next one above the app, and it tells you what player to give them to. And this is going to be used a lot over the course of the game because you're going to be making offers to other players. Each player, regardless of their role, is going to have a big shield here, and it is actually a 2-part shield. It's really cool looking, you can see here, and that's because the bottom part of it is to keep all your stuff hidden. You're definitely going to need to keep your treasure chest hidden underneath here and all your resources, while the top part is where you'll be taking actions, and you can take the top part off because you'll need to reveal what actions you take as the game goes by. The game takes place over 5 rounds, and this board is rotating in the middle, and this matters because players are going to be collecting resources at the beginning of each round, and this shows you what resources you get. It also shows you the phases that happen in each round, and some phases will have an extra round where you can accuse other people. The phases of a round are pretty simple. At the beginning, you're going to get a bunch of resources based on what's in front of you, the numbers there. There are 5 resources in the game. 2 of them, glass and marble, are less valuable, are more valuable, and then the other, wheat, stone, and wood, are easier to get. In the second part of each round, players are going to get cards depending on what round it is. So this will be round 5, round 4, round 2. You'll get 4 cards in most of the rounds, and in rounds 2 through 5, you're drafting these cards. You want to be able to build these cards for a couple reasons. These are all the resources a card costs to build. Cards will give you points at the end of the game. Some give you immediate effects. Some give you special effects over the course of the game, and all buildings are different types. These types matter because if you get a certain number of types of buildings as you play the game, you will get achievements. So for example, if I build 5 of these purple buildings, I will get this achievement, which is worth 2 points. I just put it here, which is kind of cool. And it also gives me immediate benefit 2 angel wings. These smaller ones will put 2s on the board where you get resources so that you can get more resources. So buildings can get you a lot of points if you build the right types. But before any of that happens, you go to the deals phase. So in the deals phase, each person is going to open their chest, and they're going to give other players whatever they want. Here, they're going to be able to make them offers, usually of resources and money. And then over here is their asking price. This is the devil, so the devil can ask for 1 soul or 2 souls. That's it. You put it in here. The other players are just putting things here and asking for money. So I might say I want 6 money. You can't give souls away in this phase, other players, just resources. I'm just showing you the opening ones here. And the cultist can ask for money, or they can even ask for a soul if they want to. So each player is going to put their goods in their chest. So let's say as the cultist, I decide that I'm going to put these 3 resources in here, and I'm going to ask for 4 money. I close that. So everything's shuffled up, and then again you're going to use the app. You're going to scan each of the chests after you shuffle up the chests with the app. So let's make sure I'm not covering it up with my fingers. Oh, I have to press this deals first. And it says, give this chest to the yellow player. So randomly picks another player. That player is going to secretly open the chest, and they're going to go, okay, do I want to take these 3 things? If they do, they take them, and they'll put 4 money in the chest. If they don't want to do it, they close the chest. If they've been offered to put a piece of their soul in, they'll put a piece of their soul in. Once everyone's done doing that, it will scan them again, and they'll be shuffled again and be given out to another player. And if no one took the deal the first time, the second player can take it. If someone else took it, they don't get a chance. Then you shuffle them up again, return them to their players, and you see if someone took your deal or not. Then there is an action phase. Each player is going to have those cards that you drafted, plus you'll have an action card. An action card can be put here, and you're going to slide it over 1 of 2 directions. If you slide it this way, it can cause something negative but give you resources. Like this will give you a courtier for -2 on your reputation. But if I slide it this way, I can pay 2 metal to move up 3 of my reputation. Everyone has 4 action tokens right here. You can always use 2 of them. You can use the extra 2 for wheat. So that's up to you which ones you're going to do. When you're going to place the action tokens up here, these let you build a card. So if I have a card to build, I would put it here. That means I'm going to build this card. Some cards, once you build them, give you an action you can take. This one here says, the next building you build this turn costs 7 money and no resources. So when I build it, I can put another one here to immediately take an action on the card, or later on I can do action 1 or action 2 of the 2 action buildings that I've built. Remembering that building different types of buildings can also give you these bonuses. Once everyone's done this, everyone does it simultaneously, you reveal them, and you go around here activating them, which is just using actions on your buildings, building them, or buying courtiers. Courtiers are available. They start at 2 but go up in price, and these can be discarded to complete these sets. They get the little achievement tokens. There's another board here where you have a token that you'll keep here to keep track of your score over the course of the game, but you also have reputation. And many things will cause your reputation to go up or down. Although there's movement on the board, it will move back towards the middle each round of the game. But if you move down here, you got these demon wings. If you move up here, you get angel wings. At the end of every round, whoever has angel wings or demons, whoever's highest gets an angel wing, whoever's lowest gets a demon wing. 3 angel wings give you an indulgence, which you'll be able to use later to kind of get rid of an inquisitor. Demon wings will give you negative points, and they're just generally bad all around. You don't want to get them. So that's kind of how the game is going to play each round. But at the end of rounds 2 and 3, you have the opportunity to kind of point to someone and accuse them of not having 3 pieces of a soul, which if they don't can cause them to get some demon wings. And at the end of round 3 and 5, there's an inquisition. Inquisitions are where the devil will secretly put stuff in their chest to show it how many pieces of soul they got, which can give them points, but will also reveal inquisitor cards. Now, I don't have them set up here next to the board, but there's a lot of inquisitors that will show up over the course of the game. There's some that are going to be in every game. Like this guy here, the fundamentals, will be in every game, and he'll show up usually only in round 5. But these guys attack all the players, and they will cause negative points. However, for each piece of soul you can show, you'll be able to ignore one of them, and if you have indulgences, you can spend them, they're worth 2 points if you don't, to cancel these guys for you. And so the better the devil does, the more these are revealed. So that's a big chunk of the points in this game. The devil also gets some more points if people incorrectly guess other people as a devil. There's certain points in the game you can vote for people. Like I said, buildings are worth points at the end of the game. Achievements are worth points. And at the end of round 5, after you go through all the different, fighting off the inquisitors, scoring points for various things, whoever has the most points is the winner. Now, this is not a complete explanation of the game, but we did play the game live on our channel, so you can go watch a live play of that to see what you think. One of the things I mentioned in the overview is the fact that it needs exactly 4 players.
Yes.
Right.
And taking everything else out of the equation, like or hate the game.
Right.
That's a tough sell.
It is hard to pull off, right?
It's a limiting factor for sure.
And it's not even just a tough sell with 4, but you need 4 people who are likely the same level. 3 people who played this game and 1 person who hasn't is going to be really tough on that player because they can't ask a lot of questions since stuff is hidden.
And as silly as
Yeah.
it sounds, you have to get 4 people that like heavy Euros, that are okay with that kind of asymmetric nature, and also are okay with app integration in their board games.
Now, on an aside with the app, that's the other thing I want to mention. This app is one of the most unobtrusive apps ever in a board game.
Oh, for sure.
You don't. People are always like, "Oh, I don't want computer games." All this does is
Scan
tell
and
you who
go.
to give the chest to.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I don't know a way to make this game work without that.
I mean, you'd have to have a person that's
You'd have to
like
have a separate
You'd have to have
looking
a
in the
Right,
chest
yeah.
off to the side,
Yeah.
which would be the most boring job ever.
But it works really well.
Yes.
I mean, CG is the best at doing apps, I think, in this regard. But again, you're not like staring at a phone
No,
ever. You
no,
just
no.
you scan, and you do that, I guess, 15 times over the game. But you scan, and that's such a small, tiny part of the
Yeah,
game.
you're literally taking a
Sure.
piece and hovering it over your phone. That's it.
Although I did see in the rules, they tell you a little bit about the secrets on who gets what chest. It's not 100% random.
No.
In that regard. So I don't normally say this when we do reviews, but I'm going to say this here because I don't know. I'm just saying it because this is based off a single play. So you can consider this review as a first impressions if you want
Right,
to.
Sure.
The reason for that is that I don't want to play it again. But we can get into that. This feels to me a lot like Alchemist 2.0 in many ways. If you played Alchemist from them, there's some similarities in how it feels. And by that I mean, it's like, hey, the theme and everything is social deduction.
Right.
Woo! But it's actually a heavy Euro game.
Yes.
So that's how Alchemist was. Although Alchemist definitely had more deduction in it, but it was definitely a Euro game. This even more so.
Right.
Yes, there's deduction. It doesn't really matter. I mean, if I'm selling my soul to the devil,
You only get to vote once.
it don't matter who here is the devil.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and so the devil doesn't want to be too obvious because you get more points if people don't vote for you.
Right.
But 10% maybe of the game. Do you think that's right? Like 90% is the Euro game, building buildings, getting resources.
Right.
It is. And the ratio of the time you're spending in the part of the game that is least consequential is off to me. You spend the quickest part of the game is the biggest part, which is the resource, the generating resource. I mean, that's most of the game is a Euro.
Right.
And then everything kind of slows down to a halt to go through this extremely procedural witch hunt and inquisition.
I was going to say, I have a lot of negative things. That's one of them. As cool as it is passing around a treasure chest, wow, is that. You have to be so careful not to
Right.
open a treasure chest.
Right.
You have to shuffle them, and if you watch our live play, I'm trying to turn my brain off while I shuffle them. The app part works great.
Yeah.
You hand them out, you look at them. You have to carefully take stuff out or not. So I tried to, when we did that, I tried to ignore everything y'all were doing and not think, oh, Roy turned his right away. That means he rejected an offer.
Right.
You do all that, and you do it again, and then you get your stuff, and then you actually play the real part of the game.
Right, for sure. And
But
then
the
that
real
takes
part
like a
is
lot.
very short.
It is. You're getting resources and you're building buildings. That's the meat of the game. Everything else is a very convoluted, clever but convoluted trading mechanism.
And it
That's
seems
what
like
it is.
seems like that whole trading mechanism is very much the entire thing's just set up to try to give the devil an opportunity to tempt you into getting more resources. It's like, oh, you can get a whole bunch of resources, but you might have consequences. That sort of thing.
But I also don't like that. So I started out the very first round, I could not build a single building.
Yes.
I could not do my event. I literally could do nothing that first round. And then the next round, I didn't have the right resources either for future buildings if I hadn't sold my soul. And so what Euro game does that, where you go an entire first round after getting resources and
5.
everything, and you can say, I can't take a turn at the beginning of the game. Like, no Euro game does that because it's not fun.
It's extremely, extremely limiting. And I mean, I was the devil character in the game, and I kind of set my devil resources aside and then had my other resources to try to throw people off the tracks a little bit. But just with those resources that you get during the game, it feels so limiting on what you can build and how you can put stuff out. And there's cool things and abilities, but it's like, man, we're drafting all of these cards. I can play maybe one of them if I stretch it. Sometimes I was being like, I have to use some of the devil resources to even get this in play. It's just really hard to play things down.
Punishing is the word that came to mind over and over again. It's a game that feels punishing. The fact that, they've got the negative points printed on the score track, I think is an indication that, we knew pretty quickly in. Now, again, this was our first play, and I'm sure maybe if we were to play it again, we'd get a little bit better at it. But I think it's likely that you're going to have people that score very few and maybe even into the negative by the end of the game. I don't think that would be that rare.
But it's not just, I mean, that's, again, this is my biggest problem with the game is the punishing nature, because I think it's twofold.
Yeah.
One, you don't get enough resources. I mean, you can sell your soul, but even then, you don't get to do a lot. You have very limited actions. They're like, ooh, pick some actions. What do you want to do? Would you like to build a building, activate a building you already built, or get a courtier? That's it. Those are your only actions.
That's it.
That's not a lot of decisions. The biggest decision is which of the 2 buildings I can afford, because you get like 4. You can't build at most of them.
Do you want to do an event for negative reputation, or do you want to pay something for positive reputation?
Right.
Do you want to? It's just.
Yeah. So then you have all that. Then that coupled with, and this is a personal thing for me, but I hate debt in games. I've already said that.
Yeah.
And this is the worst of that, because this one says the more debt you have, the more interest, which makes your debt worse, which is, in my real life, the worst thing ever.
Right.
I mean, I hate being in debt. I'm happily out of debt currently. But that whole process and that spiraling thing of debt, putting that in a game isn't like a fun thing for me. Now, you guys might like that more, and I know some people don't have a problem with it, but I really hate it. I really do.
I think that this game is thematic almost to a fault. I think if we lived in this time period, if we were trying to get out of being a basic, like, farmer person, it would be very hard to do. And so what we do, we'd sell our soul to the devil, we'd go hyper in debt, right? And I think that the tightness and the lack of resources, it just was a time period in our history where things were not great. We weren't flourishing. We didn't have all of this technology and all this stuff. And so I think that it was very thematic.
I think it's
a very, I don't know. That to me, if that was their goal, I think they succeeded at that goal. It's not the goal that I want, but I think they succeeded at their goal.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, actually, because I think you could make that argument. I think some people will, that this is so thematically integrated into the game that you feel that weight, you feel that punishing, you feel that. But there's got to be a way, and I'm not saying you were arguing against this. I think you made a really good point. I think there's got to be a way to kind of evoke that theme and still have a fun game, because isn't the point of playing games usually to have a good time? Sometimes, really tight Euro economic games can be, fun, agonizing but fun. This was agonizing and not fun, in my opinion. Also, you already mentioned this is based off of our first play. At the end of the game, we were already talking about, why would you ever sell your soul?
Right, exactly.
Now, again, maybe with multiple plays, you would start to see some of those nuances. But I can tell you, if the 4 of us played again, I doubt the devil would ever get a soul.
Right, and I think there's actually going to be a wave of this. So almost everyone's first game, if you don't know what you're doing, the devil's going to win. Because people sell their souls, and then they're like, oh my goodness, that was a terrible idea.
They're going to wreck us. Yeah.
All right, so next turn, we won't sell our souls. The next game.
Right.
Then the game kind of breaks down, because I know that I can just,
you
can
no
figure out
resources. You can't
there's no
do
resources.
anything.
It's like, nah. So then the next game, people start going, okay, I guess I'll sell my soul, but for how much? And also, why does the devil have the opportunity to ask for 2 soul pieces? Will anyone in the history of this game ever do that?
Yeah.
You better put a $5 bill in there.
I was like, I don't think you could fit enough resources in that thing.
Yeah. It's so crazy, because like the juxtaposition of those inquisitors are interesting, because if you have soul pieces, you're able to pay them off and you don't have as much penalty. So if you kept your soul, you'd be able to like get through those a little bit more. And then if the devil doesn't have any at all, they're gonna have to worry about the witch hunts, and those are gonna give them negative points. And then also they're gonna have to worry about when those inquisitors come up, they're gonna then have to deal with them, because they're not gonna have the soul pieces to do it. And at that point, are they trying to do a whole nother trickery thing of being like, oh guys, we really need to bribe these inquisitors so that way we're not gonna take this stuff, and trying to talk everybody into like paying off the inquisitors to go away.
A weird semi-co-op thing in there.
It is like a really weird,
and
interesting
money is
thing.
so tight. You know what I mean?
Even in that phase, it's like as the devil, you have to choose: am I going to use all these resources to try to buy people's soul, or am I going to save them for this inquisitor phase to not have a ton of negative points there? So it's like, or do I use them to try to build out buildings and get points that way? It's a very interesting thing as the devil. Like, they have to worry about a lot of different things, where the other people could be like, I just don't have anything to build anything. I just won't be able to build anything all game. It's just kind of strange. Like, the resources are so tight, and the negative points can just swamp you.
And if you're not selling any souls to the devil,
right,
and when you get to that to that point.
You have it to pay off all the Inquisitors,
and
right?
nobody has, and if somebody doesn't have souls or chooses not to pay off with souls, then you have a pretty strong inclination who the devil is at that point.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, there's also fewer Inquisitors if you have less souls. The game feels like a big experiment.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and there's a lot of cool things. I like the theme. I think the theme is well done. Like you said, I think it's done to a fault.
Right.
But I like the art. I like the idea of indulgences and stuff. This is all. I mean, I'm not gonna say realistic. It's like half realistic, but also half. It's
period appropriate.
We're not selling souls, right?
Yeah,
in real life, you don't sell souls and get lots of resources, or argue that in the comments. But it doesn't work for me. There's so many things in here that I don't like. I mean, I struggle to find something I do like. I like.
I was gonna say I'm trying to figure out who this is for, even.
Right.
I have a sense there's going to be some people this is their favorite game.
I don't think so.
I don't
You
know.
don't
I think a lot of
so?
people are. I think a lot of people are going to go. I loved playing it and then never play it again. I think it's an experience game, and it might be worth your while to play it once.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. I do agree with that.
I just feel like it's a mashup of so many different types of mechanisms. Is it a highly thematic game that you're just feeling all, that as you all the way go through? Is it a tight Euro? Is it an engine builder? Is it a semi-co-op? Like, what is it? It's got so much involved with this hidden trading mechanism. Is there a traitor because they're the devil? Like, I feel like there's so many different mashups. Like you said, it feels like an experiment, but I don't know if the experiment turned out well.
Well, I can say it. Social deduction. It's not a very good social deduction.
Not
game.
really,
It's
no.
okay. Action selection. You have 3 different things to pick from. I mean, well, technically 5, but
And you
Two
can only
are
do
the
2
same.
things,
Yeah.
and if you do more, then you have to pay resources,
pay
which we
resources.
said you don't have resources.
Right,
so-
engine building. You never get around it.
There's no
On
engine.
turn 5, I thought, I finally have a few resources.
Yeah.
Also, we're 3 hours into the game
Mike
at
did
this
the
point.
most engine building, and you still felt like it was tight, right?
Yes.
And with the draft, I just randomly happened to never ever get a thing where I could actually use the action to actually place a thing out to activate a building. I never got a building that let me do that.
Why wasn't there an action? I said this right. There should have been an action you could throw away a worker on a coin.
Or getting
A
resources
resource
of some
or
sort.
something. Now, again, I know I'm preempting this. People are going to go, you didn't play it enough. I played it enough. Because a game needs to shine out the gate. I'm sorry. It needs to shine out the gate. I might be bad at it and go, I'm bad at it, but I'll get better at it.
Right.
Okay? If you've been watching the We'll Play It Lives that we've done, you'll see I lose almost all the time. That doesn't make me dislike a game.
No.
I lose a lot, and then I go, okay, well, that's fine. How can I play the game better? This one, though, was just not fun.
Right.
Yes.
Even if I had won, I wouldn't have liked it. I'm giving this one a 4. And I realize that that's a very personal rating, right? And a lot of it also is this was my #1 anticipated game from Essen. I was so excited about this game, but I just don't see me playing anymore. I feel similar. There was a game called 504 where Friedman Freeze, designed a thing that, and it was like, wow, that's a neat thing.
Grand experiment.
I never want to play
Yeah.
it. This feels the same way. It's a cool experiment, and parts of it, the app part and the chests, they work. I didn't find any negative problems. The theme comes through, the design, the production. I'm happy with all that. I'm just not happy with the gameplay. It made me feel miserable.
Yeah.
For 3
I don't
hours.
want to be miserable for 3 hours. And you can say, well, that's because you're a bad player. Fine. Include that in my rating then. But I'm still giving it a 4. Anyone else higher than a 4?
No, I'm also at a 4. But the biggest indictment I think I have is that by the end of the first round, I was sitting there going, this is a game where you're really not doing a whole lot for 3 hours, and what you are doing is not enjoyable. I mean, it was almost like when you were going through the lengthy teach, and this is not an indictment against you, this is an indictment against how much front-loaded information you have to give people to even make the game work. Because if you mess something up, it's a bit of a fragile game too.
Yes.
If you mess something up, you could be 2.5 hours into the game and it's wrecked. Right? Now, yeah, you can be careful as players, but that is an issue, I think. And when we got into it, I was like, we're going to be doing this same little loop of getting a few resources, maybe trying to build a building by going into debt, and then this convoluted trading system for 3 hours. There really is not a whole lot going on in the game. It's much ado about very little, almost nothing to me. It's a 4 out of 10.
I am not a fan of heavy Euro games like at all, and I definitely am not a fan of like things that are like super punishing. Like this was extremely punishing, and I did quite well in the gameplay we played. And I don't think it's necessarily just because I had lots of resources. It was stressful to try to figure out all that stuff, and I think I was able to trick people enough to make those things happen. But I'm giving this a 5 overall. I don't like the game. Like, I don't recommend it, but I could see if somebody really likes that sort of stuff, or really likes, if you like feeding your workers in games, if you like feeling that punishing thing, if you like ruling through and grinding through and barely scraping by, you might enjoy this. And I mean, the only reason I'm higher than these guys is I really did enjoy the I guess the trickery part of it, or the social deduction part, and I really enjoyed the fact that the app was just cool tech. I applaud that sort of innovation in games. I think it's kind of cool, but this is not a game that I'm going to be coming back to, so 5.
There you go. I'm also going to give it a 4. I like tight Euro games. I enjoy not having a ton of resources and seeing what I can build with it and how I can grow and how I can squeak out those points. And I just felt like my hands were tied this entire game. I tried trading the same amount of resources like the entire game. Not a single person took any of my trades. And I did what the rulebook recommended. I was like $2 for basic resource because that's all I had to spare because I had nothing extra. And no one ever took.
Yeah, but no one had any money.
Because no one had money.
You can't buy
It's like,
stuff if you don't have
it's
money.
like- And the
exactly.
debt is so punishing too. So it's like,
debt
why
is
would I
punishing.
take the debt to be able to get your resource?
And the
So I was
return
getting-
of buying and selling resources is also
It was
punishing.
so expensive.
Yeah.
Everything was just, it just felt like the game was trying to push me down and shove me with their little foot and being like, stay down.
Maybe it's an educational game. Kids,
There
don't
you
sell
go.
your soul to the devil, right?
And don't go into debt.
Got it.
Got it.
Yep.
It's a life lesson.
There
Yes.
you go.
Alrighty, well, like I said, again, take this as you will. I have read online, I went and looked at a lot of people. A lot of people have enjoyed this game. So you can say it's group dependent, blah, 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 blah. Tom was a bad teacher, so on and so forth. I accept all that, but I also know in my heart, I don't like this game. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But I also do like that companies are pushing boundaries and trying new things.
I agree.
So I'm glad CG made the game, if nothing else.
Yeah.
It was a good try. It did not work for us, but I'd rather you try and fail than not try at all. Because
Yes.
I'm not, a lot of times I criticize companies and say, this is trash. You shouldn't have
Yeah.
put this out. Look at, you put no effort into this or that. Effort was put into this.
Very much.
Yeah.
Lots of things. It just fell apart for me. It maybe someone else will love a lot of things I hate about this, but
You know what? That app with the trading mechanism, if that was a game itself without all the other Euro-y stuff, like that could be so interesting.
that would be a fun
Sure.
game, I think.
Yeah.
It'd be a party game, basically. You know what I
Develop
mean?
the
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Anyway, that is Deal with the Devil. Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Roy Canning.
And I'm Mike Delisio.
Yeah.